Alright guys, this is going to be my video on my process for painting or repainting my army in the new color scheme. To give you an example, if anybody hasn't seen the videos already, the other videos, this is the new color scheme. I should do it from an angle so the light's on it and not away from it. Yep. So that's the new color scheme. Sort of a frozen blue. I don't know how well you can make out the color on it. There is some shading. I know a couple of you guys were posting online. I've tried to respond. There is some shading, but it's very minimalistic. That's how I paint. That's how I like to paint. I don't like to spend more than an hour on any one model, and if I'm doing a unit, I'd prefer to get the entire unit done in an hour. So yeah, again, just to recap real quick, this is the new color scheme, and I'll go over how I do that, how I've been working on those. I only have these three done right now. Tonight I was hoping to strip and paint some Forge Guard. And that leads me to my next topic. Those of you who, like me, have previously used Simple Green or Power Purple or any other sort of slow degreaser to strip paint off models, you'll know that it takes at least a 24-hour soak, preferably a 48-hour soak, to adequately strip the paint off models. And by strip, I mean loosen to a point where you can then take a stiff brush, possibly a toothbrush, and scrub it off to the point where repriming it doesn't end up, with all these chunky spots. So what I am going to try this time around, and I haven't tried it on a model yet, is this stuff. It's called Aircraft Paint Remover. You can pick it up at your local auto parts store. It comes in two forms, basically paint on, which is similar to a paint thinner. It's actually pretty thick. It's almost like a gel. And then this aerosol, which is basically a spray paint version of the same stuff. So I've been using this. The reason I picked these up in the first place is because I've been working on stripping down this old bike frame right here. So, this is not that you would know, but this is a 1977 Raleigh record. Very old bike. It's 35 years old. So getting the paint off, bit of a challenge if you don't have the right stuff. And as you can see here, I've got it down to bare metal pretty easily. These are the sections I haven't done yet. Using this Aircraft paint remover. I originally bought the paint-on stuff in this big jug, thinking that would be the way to go, but then after realizing how tedious it may be to paint each section of that bike, making sure that I don't miss any spots, I went out and got the spray-on kind, which actually went rather quickly, although it is a little harder to get even coverage because it doesn't come out so well. So what I was going to do is paint some of this stuff on, because obviously trying to spray a model that's, that big when I couldn't spray a bike frame evenly, it's going to be a little challenging. So I'm going to paint some of that stuff onto a Mini. We're going to do some Forge Guard, like I said. And we got my model case right over here. Should be on the top tray, if I know my own model case correctly. There's, let's get that out of there. Oh, strange angles. Alright, and you guys know what that stuff is. I've shown it in other videos. It's my my trench for Osram, and then my rock wall, a bunch of wreck markers, and oh yeah, that's actually my second trench, because I didn't realize that in most lists I would actually be bringing two trenches and not one. So of course I only bought one of these, and I love it. It's great. It's just rough enough that it doesn't knock models over and stuff. They can stand on it evenly, but it's got great texture. It looks awesome on the field. Problem being, I bought it at Gen Con, and I cannot for the life of me find out who makes it or where I can get another one. And I really want two of them, and I hate inconsistency. Hate it with a passion. So having to use this and then something like that annoys the hell out of me to the point where I almost don't even want to put it on the field. But I do because, big benefit. But yeah, if anybody happens to know, I'll give you, there's pictures up, and I'll give you a quick look at it right here. If anybody happens to know where you can get another one of these exact resin bases, I think it's like a 120 by it's 120 by 50 millimeter or 120 by 70 millimeter, something like that. Just let me know, website or shop that you've seen it in. Hell, if you see one and it's like the last one on the shelf, buy it and I'll pay for you to ship it to me. But anywho, so that's that. And here we have top layer of the model case, which has Warcaster's Forge Guard Thor and Artillery Crew. You guys can see that there. So we've got the Forge Guard in here. Now, so again, we're looking to go from that to that, essentially. So obviously I am going to have to clean the base, which I'm not too worried about, because when I was putting the paint stripper onto the bike frame, I hung the bike frame from my dog's leash run outside, you know, those plastic runs that you do between like two trees so the dogs can run around. And I actually got a decent amount of the paint remover on the run. And the run is a braided cable wrapped in a plastic housing. And the plastic is a little bit softer than these, you know, hard resins, obviously, because it has to flex. So I'm thinking if that, and that didn't take any damage. So I'm thinking if it didn't damage that, then it won't damage the base on a Mini. Whether or not that works out to be true, I guess we'll see. So yeah, going to strip it with those. And then after that, the primer that I've been using is not a P3 or Games Workshop or anything like that. It's actually this little guy right here. And of course I was an idiot and stripped the label off because it got all frayed and it was annoying me. But this is actually a Tamiya primer, which is generally used more for model cars, stuff like that. So that, as you can probably tell if I put it next to the Mini, that is actually what I've been using for a primer. And it actually works out pretty nicely. You get a nice solid coat of it. It doesn't go on too thick. You don't really lose any detail. It comes out real nice. And then on top of that, sorry if this is taking me a minute, I just cleaned my entire gaming room. Oh, that was nice. I just cleaned my entire gaming room, so my stuff is sort of all over the place. I sort of, you know, you do that thing where you clean and then you don't know where you put your things because they're always in the same spot. Now they're not. So we go with the blue primer, and I'll look up, I gotta buy another can soon anyways because that one's probably about half empty. I'll look up what the exact color is if anybody cares. And then I dry brush over that with Underbelly Blue, which, if I give it a good shake, I don't know if you'll be able to get the gist of the color. That must have sounded and looked funny. So that's the Underbelly Blue. And that is a pretty accurate, the colors do look pretty accurate on the video. It's almost like a pale, like a sickly grayish blue. And I dry brush that over the primer coat on all of the metal bits. And then any parts I want to accent, like weapons or guns, or obviously you can see the models, they're right in front of you. I go with my standard silver, which is Cold Steel. And I'll give that a shake. Actually, shaking this, I can tell I need to get a new one because that is feeling mighty dry. You know how the metallics always dry out like a madman. I hate it. To which extent I use this stuff. That sort of gives it some life. But yeah, so Cold Steel, followed by, you know, with a little bit of the mixing medium to thin it up. And then I just dry brush over with the P3 Armor Wash on just the Cold Steel, not the blue. So it'll darken it up, and I really wanted like a nice bright, you know, a nice light, bright, popping color, which is why I went with the blue. And then the other new color, part of this scheme, is my Hammerfall Khaki, which I'm pretty happy about the fact that I have an official Rhulic color in my color scheme. Yep, so Hammerfall Khaki, and that's pretty much going to be my, you know, anything that's not metal accent. So I've got my base metal is the blue, I've got my secondary metal is the Cold Steel with the Armor Wash, and then my cloth, anything that's cloth, is going to be Hammerfall Khaki. So like you can see on Osram, I know the lighting's not the best because I wasn't planning on doing model close-ups, but you can see his hat, shoulder pads, belt, and then the cloth on his sort of skirt in the back, and his gun sheath are done with the Hammerfall Khaki. and then I wash those over with the P3 Flesh Wash, which is, I know is a little odd, but because it's basically a dark brown, medium to dark brown wash, it actually looks really good over the khaki. And I don't know if I can get the lighting well enough for you guys to see it here, but it's sort of, I mean, it looks decent. You know, it gets into the wrinkles and stuff, and it gives it a nice little aged look. I like it anyways. So there's that, and that's pretty much the whole shebang. So there's nothing too complicated. I do very simple speed painting. I'm not looking for it to come out amazing. I just like uniformity across my army, and, you know, something that looks cool on the table. That's it. I also don't like to do a lot of custom bases. I obviously did one for Rage and Osram because he's Osram and because he's Rage. So they deserve special bases. But other than that, I do a lot of, you know, you guys have seen my pictures, what you'll see here. It's basically flock, maybe some static grass, maybe some sand painted to look like stone. You know, nothing crazy fancy. And I may or may not do the front arc around the base in full. I definitely want to do something because that helps me out a lot when I play, and I feel like it should help. It would probably help most players. And also your opponents. I mean, in all sense of having a fair game, it's nice to let your opponents know, you know, where your front arc is. So yeah, probably going to do, I might do hash marks, you know, at the 180 degree lines and then the 90 front center. Might do that. Not sure yet. Not sure how it's going to look. But that's that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this stuff, I'm going to pour some of it out into a plastic container. You should, if you're going to use this, you should use, what is it? I have them right over here. Go find them. Gloves. These guys right here. You know, either latex or non-latex, whatever they're called, neutral gloves. Because if you get that stuff on your skin, it doesn't necessarily, it's not like, you know, sulfuric acid where it's just going to burn right through you. But it does start to irritate you almost immediately, and you do get a stinging sensation. Your skin will redden up. You want to keep it off your skin for the most part. So use latex gloves, use neutral gloves, whatever. Just keep it off your hands. Obviously, you're gonna sort of be holding, unless you put it down on the plate. But even then, you're gonna have to turn it and stuff. So you're gonna be holding the mini like this, or you're gonna have it down on the plate, and you're gonna be turning it like that while you paint it. You know. So wear the gloves. Don't get it on yourself. It has to sit for about half an hour to 45 minutes. I think for this type of paint, because it's not as crazy as like automotive paint, which is what I'm taking off the bike and what it's designed to take off. I think about half an hour should be fine. It starts working almost immediately. It's actually scary how fast it starts working. You paint it on, and within 10 seconds you can see the paint starting to blister and bubble up. It's very crazy. Also, for some reason it says in the container, obviously if you guys are going to use this, you'll read it for yourselves because you're not idiots. But see if I can focus in on this and find the line. So, oh yeah, right there. So, brush in one direction only. I'm not sure why that is. And I understand that on a larger surface, that would be easy. Like if you're doing it on a car, it's easy to paint left to right, left to right, left to right. You're basically just putting stripes on. But on a Mini, I don't know how well that's going to work. Like I can try to work the brush, a little pen simulation here. I can try to work the brush left to right, left to right, left to right, you know, like this, sort of turning it as I go, just strokes to the left, from left to right. I'm not sure how well that's going to work for certain spots because you sort of got to get in, like in between his backpack back there. You got to get in and do a little, you know, a little wiggling in there. So I don't know if that's going to work. And I'm not necessarily sure what the issue will be if I don't go in one direction. I'm not sure what that's for. Maybe I die. Just whatever you're painting explodes and you die if you go in two directions. Who knows? But so that's what I'm going to do. And so this is the first part of the video. I will do the second part after this guy alone has sat for 45 minutes. He's going to be my guinea pig. I'm going to paint the base. I'm going to paint him, everything. We'll see if it melts any parts of it, and hopefully it'll strip everything right off. I'm just going to use a toothbrush afterwards to scrub him. After half an hour, hopefully he'll be nice and clean, and if that's the case, I'll hit the rest of the forge guard, at least the rest of this unit. So I have 2 max, not going to do all that in one night. And yeah, we'll see how he comes out. So I will have the next video up as soon as possible. Alright? Cool.